What is going on, YouTube? Good afternoon, 2:45 p.m. on Tuesday, August 11th. Hope everybody's doing well. Futures Brizio here, of course. And yes, the camera is turned off today. So that's that's on purpose. We'll just leave it at that. But anyways, no worries. You don't need to see my ugly mug, anyways. And we're gonna just jump right in and just do a really quick market and trade review, open trades, etc., etc. And so let's just jump right in. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and any questions or comments, leave them down below. All right, so in futures, we'll just start there. I took one trade today, which I was in and out of. Again, it was kind of a quick little day trade scalp in soybeans here. You can see it right here. Here was the entry, here was the exit. It was about $300. It was one contract. It was a little bit of a late entry, which is why I only took one contract. Although, as it turns out, it would have been fine because you can see even at the close, it was trying to go down again. Market's closed now, um, but obviously, more ideal entry would have been a couple of candles up here. But this candle came at 4:30 yesterday morning, and then this one actually would have been a good entry. This one came yesterday around noontime. So could have entered right here yesterday at noon and held it. But anyways, I got in at the next candle, which was today. And there you go. So that was the one trade I took. Um, there were potentially a couple other trades in grains today. Yeah, potentially this one here in wheat. Though I don't like this choppiness, but it did go down and at least re-challenge this old low over here. So this candle painted at like 7:30, this 6:30 this morning, which is a little early for me. So I probably wouldn't have taken this either way. But that's a weak entry, but it was an entry. And then the other one I had kind of a watch on was corn. Um, it did try to go down today. Actually, no, the last candle that painted was yesterday around 11:20 a.m. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, Monday, August 10th. So nothing really happened today. So again, I didn't take that one. Um, Soybean meal has been on a tear to the downside. I just have not been able to catch a good pullback area, unfortunately. And soybean oil, after this big move down, is now starting to rip to the upside again. So let's see what happens. This is going to be an interesting to watch. Whether this is just a nice pullback into moving averages, and then we look for a new short entry, or whether we're going to, rip and start going higher and start a new uptrend. So this is the one I'll be pretty much watching for some sort of signal to enter. If it's going to be a long, it's going to have to prove itself out after this really impulsive move down. Um, I'm not simply going to be jumping into a quick long here. Um, but then again, I'm not going to jump into a fast short either. But this correct after this real steep move down that just blew out all this price action here, this could just be a corrective move, and then we go back down. So this is the one I'm watching mostly going forward for the next day or two. So we'll see what happens with that. All right. So that's it for grain futures. Over to Forex. I've tweaked my range bar setting from 250 to 200. I'm kind of going back and forth. There isn't much difference between 200 and 250. Obviously, a tiny bit more detail with 200. And again, with range candles, again, they're price based, not time based. And on the difference between a 200 and a 250 is that a 200 is a 20 pip candle before it paints a new one, and the 250 is a 25 pip candle. So you get, candles painting a little quicker. Maybe you get a little bit better entry without creating a bunch of extra noise. Okay. So, and I've also said, just as an aside, guys, like I like to swing trade. I don't like, in Forex. I mean, futures, as you see, I like to, for the most part, be in and out the same day. I mean, I will hold them overnight sometimes, but most of my futures trades are in and out the same day. However, for uh, for Forex, I prefer to hold the trades, at least a couple of days. I think trading on these, whether it be higher time frames or higher range bars or whatever, charting method you use, I think smooths out a lot of the noise, gets rid of a lot of the chop and volatility you see on the short time frames, and I just don't find it necessary. But with that being said, you can use these range bars and trade whatever interval you want. If you want to scalp or day trade, you can go down and trade on the 20 ranges, which is 2 pips, right? Meaning all these candles here are 2 pips instead of 20, right? You can get some good daytime, moves here. I mean, like, I don't know, I'm just looking. I just clicked through to one chart, but this is dollar yen, and this all, even though this looks like, this was like a sustained downtrend, this all happened in one day. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, this high was put in today, August 11th at 5 a.m. This low was put in 2 hours later. So all of this price action is just 2 hours. Okay. So, but if you were on the chart and you wanted to try to basically run this downtrend down, you had really great clear entries using the range bars, right? There was an entry here, entry in here, maybe right here. And then, price started breaking higher. If you tried to enter again on here, you probably would have been stopped out. And then prices started moving higher. So you certainly can do it. I'm not saying you can't trade range bars on any interval you want, but I just don't have the time or the desire to sit here and monitor a trade like this, because this is 2 hours. So if I set this trade, let's say I get in here or here, and then I walk away and I go do something, right? Well, this is 6:47 a.m. This is this is literally 20 minutes later. From here to here is 20 minutes. And so if I like walked away, I come back an hour and a half later, my trade that wasn't profit is, I've now been stopped out of it, you know, and it's just ridiculous. I don't want to have to be able to do that. Okay. I don't want to have to monitor the trades like that and be on top of them every half hour, or hour, which is why I don't like trading these lower intervals. Okay. So that's just me. But if you have the time and the patience to do it, cool. All right. But I'm using the 200 range, which is these are 20 pip candles. And this is going to more mimic like about a 4 hour chart. Okay. Just in terms of how fast it moves. All right. And so you can be a little more patient with it. You're not going to get as many trades, not as flashy. In fact, most times there won't be trades on most pairs. But at least I like to use them in conjunction with these two moving averages. I like to see pullbacks into the moving averages. Now, when a move is really impulsive, when a market's really flying and going really high, you may miss trades. Like, I don't know, just like here, for instance, on dollar yen, this little, right here, you had this little pullback. This is actually an entry right here, right? But this is probably one I would have missed because it didn't pull back into the moving averages. It wasn't a nice deep pullback. I like to see those, such as maybe like what this one did, right into the moving averages. And as far as I'm concerned, this is all part of one big move up, anyways. I like to use sometimes things like channels, just to kind of mark out the actual. Um, if you can take like a channel indicator like this, and you can capture most of that move inside the channel, then to me, all these little pullbacks are just part of this move up. Whereas like this pullback down here doesn't fit inside the channel, right? It clearly comes outside of there. And so this is, more of a valid pullback. So that's one, kind of check I like to use. I can kind of visualize it anyways, but I like to take that channel indicator and say if all that price action is contained easily inside the upper and lower bound of that channel indicator, then that's all one big move. And these little pullbacks in here are not really that important to me. I'm waiting for the more substantial pullbacks. Okay. So, um, yeah, so that's that. So just taking a quick look here. Aussie US dollar. Again, this is kind of another example of what I was just talking about. we've got these little shallow pullbacks, two candle pullbacks, and then these shallow moves up. Two candles down, three up. Then we had, what is this? Three candles down, we have one up, and then price hasn't done anything. This candle painted at midnight today or last night, depending how you want to look at it. Hasn't done anything since then. This is not a really big pullback. I like to see ones more like this that give it some really good push up. And chances are, you got to remember, what drives these pullbacks, right? It's big money. It's the banks, the hedge funds. They want to be in the market. They're going to oftentimes push price in the opposite direction to find some liquidity, short, knock people out through stop losses and use them as liquidity to go higher. And so there was obviously they wanted to go higher here, so they pushed price down. There could have been news in here. They maybe used news as an excuse, maybe not. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And then they pushed price down. And then what did they do? They grab liquidity. Maybe people short from down here, or people that want to think it maybe prices are going down, and they sell here. Either way, it triggers off a bunch of stops, and then they push it up. Here, this is a much shallower move, and I don't put as much weight in it. And you can see it's a shallower move down. It's a shallower move up, right? There wasn't a lot behind it. Same thing here, pulled back, shallow, even shallower move, didn't even touch the 21 moving average, right? And then this candle painted, uh, 14 hours ago, and it hasn't moved more than 20 pips since then because it hasn't painted another candle. Remember, these are 20 pip candles. So it all kind of goes, along with that, which is why I rather just miss a few trades than just take a trade just based on, the fact that, yeah, and look, this could just like start here and then all of a sudden be blast up and just run to new highs. And, if I miss it, I miss it. But I follow enough pairs and I get enough opportunity where, I can wait for these bigger pullbacks, and then I'm getting ready for bear. When these things show, then I'm putting alerts on my chart and I'm getting ready. Okay, because if that trend does continue, then I'll make sure I get in it. If I miss some of these more shallow pullbacks and they're not as great, or even if they do turn out to be good, then so be it. All right, so here's one in euro dollar. Again, I don't like how small these impulsive moves have been going here, but you can see I have an alert here because we're going down here, red candles, and we're now back inside the moving averages. As long as we don't break, I'm looking at this little area right here. This is a pretty conservative structure area. Maybe you consider it down here to be more, but either way, somewhere in here to be structure. If this holds in here and then this turns and goes back up and we get one or two green candles back in the direction of the trend, then I'd be willing to take another long here. And so that's why I have this alert set just above this candle. If we get a green one that pops higher, and if it goes down and paints another red candle, I'll move the alert down a little bit. So that's one where I'm kind of waiting. I'm not taking the trade yet, but I'm waiting. All these dollar pairs are all about the same. So here's pound dollar, looks a lot like the Aussie dollar. Again, I'm not really, that's a pretty shallow pullback. Not really too thrilled about it. And again, this candle painted at, this one actually painted at noon today, but so this one's not bad. But again, I just don't like these shallow pullbacks because they tend to lead to more shallow moves up. Okay. New Zealand dollar, you guys know I was in this long yesterday. I did end up closing this trade today on this candle right here. My stop was sitting a little at the bottom of this range. If you watched my video yesterday, I did not move it. And look, this may end up shooting back to the upside, but I was getting a little concerned that we've made multiple attempts at this area right here. You can see right here, and so I just decided to close it out. I had a really nice profit on it. If we get some more strong bullish momentum here, and it looks like it's going to go and take out these highs, I certainly will have no problem getting back into it. But for now, I'm out of it. I took my profit, and that was that. We talked about dollar yen. Dollar Canadian continues to go down. I also closed my dollar Canadian trade, which I probably shouldn't have, but I closed it at this double bottom, this little double bottom setting up right here. I thought we were going to get a steeper pullback and I didn't really want to get caught in it. So I did close it. Again, it was a nice profit. It is breaking lower now. Probably should have just held it or done a trailing stop. But look, this thing I think could have some more decent downside. So we get another pullback at some point, which we will, another pullback like one of these back towards the moving averages, then I certainly will consider re-entering short. It's no problem. I'll pay the spread and get back in. Um, no problem. So for now, I'm out of it. But I do suspect after impulsive move down like this, we will get a more robust pullback here on this at some point. Dollar Swiss, not really interested. I mean, you can make a case it's going higher, but again, it's just chopping inside of a range. And, this is I just not interested in that. Aussie yen, I did re-enter. You guys knew I had a short long on this. I closed it. I re-entered it today on this candle. It's just sitting basically at break even right now. I am a little worried about this area right here, but it will go up a little higher. But I'm hoping that at least makes it back to this old swing high. That's where my take profit's sitting. So I did re-enter that. And I know what you're going to say. That just violated exactly what I just told you. And it's true. It did. But I was already pretty bullish on this one, so I was willing to take a chance. My stop is sitting below this candle, so it's a pretty low risk trade. But yes, it does technically violate what I just told you, and that the pullback was not into the moving averages. All right. I also took Aussie New Zealand long today. I've been a glutton for punishment on this one, but it does look like it was trying to form bottoms here after this move up, came all the way back down. We had essentially 100% retracement, swept some liquidity, came back up, put in this kind of classic 3-point retracement. I have this trend line. I talked about this, trend line methodology. Looked pretty bullish. We had 3 solid bull candles off this low. Um, I had an alarm sitting over the middle. Usually what I like to do is wait for price to break the middle touch point. So right here, that's why I have this alert right here. But I took it a little early. And so, again, it's a little bit of a board trade, but I took it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, again, it's a pretty low risk trade. My stop is sitting just below this candle. So if it bounces off this trend line and goes back down, I'll be taken out for a pretty small loss. However, if it does rally and starts getting through this level and I trigger this alert, I probably will add to the position because I think it will make another run up at that point. CAD yen, again, this one's just screamed away from the moving averages, so nothing really there. Swiss yen, you can see I have an alert sitting above this congestion area. Again, we have pulled back. If we zoom out, we do have some resistance back here, but all these equal highs and everything, I don't know, it's choppy, but I mean, look, these highs back here go back to well, these don't go back too far. These go back to just a couple of weeks ago. So they're still kind of valid. But just looking at what it's been doing, all this choppiness in here, trying to go lower, and the bulls and bears fighting it out. I do have an alert. If we get some like a series of at least 2 kind of bullish candles pulling out of this area, which would take it about to where this alert is, I probably would consider taking a long on this, but I'm not rushing into it, but it is on my watch list. Euro Aussie does look like it's trying to go down. I had a short on this. I closed it, and then it broke the lows today, but now it's pulling back. But it's just overall, it's kind of messy. It's not really like super trending or anything. So it's not one I really, was too interested in taking. I'd like to see it really establish a formal trend at some point, and this is still looking pretty ugly. Euro Canadian again is pulled way away from the moving averages. Canadian dollar has been really strong, probably because of oil prices creeping back up. But I just had no reason to enter these, just using my moving average pullback strategy, and so there it goes. And this can be a very volatile and rangy type of pair, so I don't trade it a lot, anyways. But once in a while, it does give a solid entry, and that I would take it. Euro yen looks like a lot of the yen pairs just very weak yen right now. So the yen is rallying. The yen is falling off against most other currencies. And so again, this is not an ideal trade. I did take the Aussie yen as I told you, but this one's pulled away from the moving averages. So unless we get a deeper pullback like something like this or even like this, I'm not really too interested in that. Euro Kiwi is a complete mess. I'm not spending any time on that. Euro Pound AUD also very choppy and range bound. Again, maybe this is setting up for a move higher. Did we see that on Euro Aussie? No, we didn't. So, maybe this is setting up for a move higher, but again, pretty ugly sideways, moving average is kind of flat. So, I'd want to see it kind of break out. So, not really too interested in that. Pound Canadian. Pound Canadian is a little bit better just in terms of waiting for these pullbacks. I mean, again, this is in a downtrend with the strength of the CAD. The last good entry was yesterday. That would still be a valid trade. And I don't think I'm in. Oh, yeah. And actually, I am in Pound Canadian. I took this trade yesterday. So holding on to this short. And I think, hopefully this will run down at least to, I'm hoping it gets down to 187.40, somewhere down in this area, maybe not to the extremely low. I told you I'm usually a little more conservative. We did have this area here that it reacted off of this old swing low down here, but the fact that it pulled up back from there and now is pushing down again, I'm assuming it's going to take this low out this time, which is why I was confident taking it. Pound New Zealand, although I did have this alert here, this is really ugly. It did trip my alert to for this long right here, but then you can see it immediately came back with a bearish candle. So I did not take that. That's why I usually like to see a couple of candles, but I did not take that. And overall, it's pretty ugly. It's not as bad as the Euro Kiwi, but it's pretty close. Uh, New Zealand Canadian, I am still short on this as well. Kind of targeting back down here, and again, that's mostly just off CAD strength. Um, and then lastly, New Zealand yen. Again, very much like the yen pairs. Very deep selling on the yen right now, but um, until we get a more substantial pullback on some of these, I'm probably just going to miss out on them and let them go. So. All right. So there you go. There's all the pairs in a few minutes. We're at 22 minutes here. So we spent about the first 5 to 7 minutes on futures, and then 15 minutes here on Forex. So, I'm about a minute or so on average per pair. And, that's how quick you can go through it. And these range bars are really helpful at kind of cleaning up the chart and kind of showing you what's going on. So I will leave it there. I hope that was helpful. There's your daily update for today, August 11th. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I will try to jump in and do another live stream maybe tomorrow. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll talk to you all soon.